Why does the idea of God appear in every civilization that has ever existed? Not just religion, everywhere. In myths, dreams, and even the minds of people who were never religious at all. Carl Jung believed he discovered the reason. You could explain the God image away. Fear of death, social control, a primitive misunderstanding of nature. Those answers aren't wrong, they just aren't complete, because even when you strip away the fear, the pressure, and the bad science, the God image doesn't vanish. It changes shape. It keeps appearing. Jung spent his whole life asking why, and what he found was one of the most powerful ideas in psychology, the God archetype. To see it clearly, we first have to map the mind itself, layer by layer. Most of us know the personal unconscious, the hidden basement of your own life. Forgotten memories, buried fears, the patterns you repeat without knowing why. That layer belongs to you alone. But Jung discovered something beneath it, a deeper layer he called the collective unconscious. This isn't personal, it isn't learned. It's inherited, the shared psychic structure of every human being who has ever lived. Like the organs in your body, it was shaped over hundreds of thousands of years of survival, love, loss, and meaning-making. Inside this collective layer live the archetypes, not pictures, but molds. Built-in predispositions. Ready-made ways the psyche expects to experience reality. Take the mother archetype. Every single human enters the world through a mother. So every psyche comes pre-wired to feel the mother pattern with overwhelming intensity, the warmth that protects, the nourishment that sustains, and also the devouring force that can swallow you whole. That double face shows up in every culture's myths and dreams, not because people copied each other, but because the archetype generates it automatically. Now, stack the next layer. The God archetype is the most powerful of all. It's not a bearded man on a throne or a cosmic void. It's a universal readiness to encounter something overwhelmingly larger than the self, terrifying and magnetic at the same time, the ultimate source of meaning. Every culture paints its own picture on top of that mold. The mold itself never changes. Why was Jung so sure this wasn't just cultural copying? 3 pieces of evidence stacked on top of each other convinced him. 1. Spontaneous religious imagery in non-religious people. Jung treated hundreds of patients raised with 0 religious exposure. In crisis, in dreams, in visions, they produced symbols of light and darkness, descent and return, overwhelming authority or love, symbols that exactly matched ancient traditions they had never heard of. 2. Identical structural patterns across isolated cultures. The dying and rising god, the underworld journey, the sacred marriage, the creation from chaos story. These appear independently in traditions that had 0 contact. Cultural borrowing can't explain that. 3. Jung's own documented inner experiences recorded in the Red Book of encounters so numinous they felt like data, not delusion. So here's the next thing. What does this actually mean for how you live? The religious impulse inside you, whether you call it religious or not, is not weakness. It's not something to outgrow or apologize for. It's one of the deepest structures of your mind doing exactly what it evolved to do. And if you think you don't have a religious impulse, look closer. The God archetype doesn't only wake up in churches. It activates anywhere something vastly larger than your ordinary self appears. In music that dissolves your boundaries, in love that feels eternal, in grief that cracks you open, at the edge of the ocean at night, or the first time you hold a newborn. Those moments aren't random. They're the archetype moving. They're the deepest part of you recognizing the sacred. Let's pull the layers together. The God archetype lives in the collective unconscious, inherited, universal, unstoppable. It generates the God image spontaneously across history, across cultures, even in atheists. And it shows up whenever life presents something that dwarfs the ego. This doesn't prove God exists theologically. Jung wasn't making that claim. What it proves is deeper. The encounter with the sacred is not optional. It is built into what it means to be human. The only real question is whether you'll be awake when it happens. That's what Empire of the Mind is here for, to help you stay awake. If this layered way of seeing your own mind moved something in you, hit subscribe right now. We drop a new video almost every day, each one building on the last, taking you deeper into the ideas that actually explain who you are. Leave a comment below. Where does the God archetype show up in your life? Not necessarily in church, but where does something larger than yourself make itself felt? I read every single one. Share this video with someone who needs this conversation. Next time, we go one layer deeper. What actually happens when you encounter the unconscious as a living experience, and why Jung believed that encounter is the same thing every religion calls the sacred. I'll see you there. Subscribe to Empire of the Mind for more. Hit the bell. Let's keep building this together.